The air in the Lord Commander's solar was thick with the scent of old leather, pine smoke, and the mulled wine steaming in 3 pewter goblets on the great oak table. Outside, the winds of the Frostfang peaks howled a lonely lament, but here, cocooned by stone walls and the heat of a roaring hearth, the world felt small enough to hold in my hands, small enough to control. It was a perfectly rendered scene. The developers of Ethelgard's Echo had outdone themselves. Across from me, Kalen, Lord Commander of the Northern Citadel, stared into the fire. The flames painted shifting patterns of gold and shadow across his hard-planed face, catching on the silver threaded through his black hair at his temples. He was the stoic warrior archetype, coded to perfection, broad shoulders straining the dark wool of his tunic, a jaw that could cut glass, and eyes the color of a winter storm. His affinity meter with my character, Lyra, was nearly full, a testament to months of careful dialogue choices and quest completions. To his left, Reese, the Citadel's loremaster and Kalen's closest advisor, leaned back in his chair, a stark contrast to his commander. Where Kalen was stone, Reese was quicksilver. His auburn hair was a messy halo in the firelight, and a knowing, intelligent smirk perpetually played on his lips. His eyes, a startling shade of moss green, were fixed on me, missing nothing. His affinity was trickier, built on wit and intellectual challenges rather than stoic approval. "The blizzard is expected to last through the week," Reese said, his voice a smooth tenor that cut through the wind's cry. He swirled the wine in his goblet. "It seems, my lady, that you are our prisoner for a while longer." I offered a smile I'd practiced in the real world's mirror, one I knew the game's facial capture would render as alluringly mysterious. "There are worse prisons, Loremaster, and worse company." My gaze flicked to Kalen. It was a calculated move, designed to trigger a small spike in his jealousy-possessiveness stat, which paradoxically increased his overall loyalty. The game's algorithms were a fascinating thing. Reese chuckled a low, warm sound. "Indeed, though I imagine Kalen here makes for a rather grim jailer." Kalen's gaze finally shifted from the fire, landing on me. The sheer, unscripted intensity in his eyes was staggering. It felt heavy. It was moments like these that made Ethelgard's Echo the most immersive VR MMORPG ever created. The NPCs felt truly sentient. "You are a guest, Lyra, not a prisoner," Kalen rumbled, his voice like stones grinding together. "You are safe here." Safe, the word echoed in the quiet space. He reached across the table, his calloused fingers covering my own. The haptics in my gameplay suit were top of the line, but this was something else entirely. I felt the warmth of his skin, the textured ridges of his scars, the solid, grounding pressure of his hand. It wasn't just a vibration or a temperature shift, it was a connection. A jolt of something foreign and alarmingly real shot up my arm. My breath hitched, my heart, my actual physical heart, hammered against my ribs. I stared at our joined hands, my mind struggling to process the sensation. This was beyond any simulation I had ever experienced. I saw Reese's smile falter from the corner of my eye, his expression tightening as he watched the exchange. Another intended consequence. Pitting the two main romance routes against each other was the fastest way to unlock the hidden triad achievement. I just had to keep them both wanting, both vying for an affection I was carefully curating. Pulling my hand back a little too quickly, I gave a light, airy laugh to break the tension. "Well, I appreciate the hospitality. This whole adventure has been quite the diversion." Diversion, the word hung in the air, wrong and sharp. Kalen's expression, which had softened for a breathtaking moment, shuttered closed. The warmth vanished, replaced by a glacial cold that had nothing to do with the storm outside. He rose to his feet, his shadow devouring the room. The pewter goblet looked like a child's toy in his massive hand. "A diversion," he repeated, his voice dangerously low. Reese sat up, his playful demeanor gone, replaced by a wary stillness. I felt a sudden lurch of confusion. Did I pick the wrong dialogue option? My user interface showed no negative affinity change. All of this, Kalen gestured vaguely, not to the room, but to something larger, to the weight between the three of us. The scouting missions in the Deadwood, the night we held off the ice wraiths on the ramparts, the stories you shared with Reese in the library, me sharing my past with you. His voice cracked on the last words, a sound of such profound hurt that it felt like a physical blow. My throat went dry, I didn't know what to say. Those were quests, lore dumps, affinity-building exercises. They were beautifully rendered, emotionally resonant, but they were components of a system. Wires and code and carefully crafted narrative. He took a step closer, his knuckles white where he gripped his goblet. The firelight carved deep, agonizing lines into his face. He looked broken. Is this just a game to you? The question was a roar of pain, of betrayal, of a heart being ripped open. It was not in the script, it was not a dialogue choice. It was raw and real, and it demanded an answer I did not have. Because this is just a game, it is supposed to just be a game. My silence was my only reply, and in the suffocating quiet of the room, I saw something in his eyes that no programmer could ever code. I saw them break.
Want to keep the flame ignited without having to wait for the next part? You can find the full, tantalizing tale on our main page. See the link in the description.